I wasn't supposed to see it. The message popped up by accident. An accidental forward from one of Samantha's friends. Meant for someone else, not me. At first I didn't think much of it. Group chats were chaotic. Mistakes happened. But when I saw my name bolded inside a cluster of laughing emojis, my stomach clenched. Curious and unsettled, I opened the thread. There it was, fam only. A private chat filled with Samantha's family and closest friends. And I was the joke. They picked apart everything. My job, my hobbies, my appearance, even private things I'd only ever trusted Samantha with. I scrolled in stunned silence, seeing Jake, her brother, making snide comments about my wannabe entrepreneur phase. Lindsay, her cousin, had even sent a meme comparing me to a knockoff motivational speaker, Samantha. She laughed the loudest, typing, "He thinks he's changing the world, but he can't even change a tire without watching a YouTube video first." Even her mother, Carla, chimed in once, not with words, but with a series of laughing emojis. Silent approval was all it took to twist the knife deeper. For a few minutes, I just sat there, gripping my phone so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I felt like I was outside my own body, watching someone else's humiliation unfold line by line. Every sentence burned. Every meme hit like a slap. These weren't harmless jokes shared behind closed doors. These were betrayals from people who had smiled at me over dinner tables and wished me happy birthday in sugary voices. My first instinct was fury. I wanted to call Samantha immediately, confront her, demand an explanation. But another part of me, the quieter, more dangerous part, told me to wait, to think. So I did something better. I copied the entire thread, from the first cruel comment to the last passive-aggressive GIF. I attached the screenshots into one long, seamless message so no one could claim anything was taken out of context. Then, with calm hands and a colder heart, I forwarded it to every single person in that group chat. Parents, cousins, siblings, even a few who weren't in the group, but whose phone numbers were tucked away in Samantha's contact list. I added just one line to the top. If I'm the joke, at least let me deliver the punchline. Then I hit send and waited. The moment I pressed send, an eerie calm washed over me. It was the kind of stillness you feel just before a storm breaks loose. My phone vibrated almost immediately, buzzing with incoming messages, but I didn't open them right away. Instead, I sat back on the couch, staring at the blank television screen, letting the silence wrap itself around me like armor. I already knew what the first few reactions would be: denial, excuses, maybe even attempts at humor, trying to play it off as harmless banter. But none of it mattered anymore. The trust was shattered, and with it, whatever fragile illusions I had about Samantha's loyalty. I didn't need to read their frantic justifications. I already knew the script by heart. It wasn't serious. We didn't mean it. It was just jokes. Some betrayals are loud, fights in public, slammed doors, screaming matches. Others, like this one, are quiet. They seep into you like poison, corrupting everything they touch without a sound. As I finally unlocked my phone, the messages flooded in faster than I could scroll. Jake was first. "Bro, it wasn't that deep. We were just clowning around." Then Lindsay. "Liam, come on, don't be so sensitive. It's a family group chat. Everyone roasts everyone." Carla's message was the softest, yet somehow the most insulting. "You know we love you, Liam. It was all in good fun." They didn't get it, or worse, they did and they didn't care. I wasn't part of their everyone. I was the outsider who made the perfect target because I was too trusting, too willing to believe that love automatically came with respect. The worst message came from Samantha herself. A voice note. Not even the courage to call me directly. I played it once, just once, her frantic, trembling voice pouring through the speaker. "Liam, please, you weren't supposed to see that. I swear it was just jokes. I didn't mean any of it. Please call me. Please, babe, don't do this. We can fix it. I love you." The desperation in her voice should have stirred something in me. Pity, sadness, anger. But instead, there was only a hollow sort of finality, like the echo of a door slamming shut forever. I replayed the earlier words from the chat in my mind, the cheap jokes at my expense, the smirks and digital backslaps as they tore me down piece by piece. No apology could erase the fact that they hadn't just laughed at me. They had bonded over it. I opened the family chat one more time. Messages kept pouring in, piling up so fast it almost looked like a malfunction. Samantha's father had weighed in now, a man who had once shaken my hand and called me son. His message was short but cutting. "We need to talk. You're blowing this way out of proportion." It was laughable in its audacity. I was blowing it out of proportion. They spent months, maybe years, tearing me down behind closed doors, and now I was the bad guy for daring to expose it? My phone buzzed again, but I muted it this time. Let them scream into the void. Let them choke on their excuses. I wasn't interested in being part of their guilty conscience cleanup crew. I had given them the truth on a silver platter, and now it was their mess to sit in. I stood up, stretching out the stiffness in my back. The apartment around me felt different now. Colder somehow, stripped of the warmth I had imagined was real. This place had been a home once, or so I thought. Now it was just four walls and a roof, the stage of a private humiliation played out in front of an audience that never deserved a ticket. Packing could wait. Goodbyes could wait. Right now I just needed space. Space to breathe. Space to let the final pieces of the truth settle, where they belonged. I slipped my phone into my pocket, walked to the balcony, and stared out over the city lights. Somewhere out there, Samantha was probably crying, pacing, drafting apology after apology. Somewhere in 1,000 tiny digital corners, the family that once toasted me at holidays was now scrambling to patch the wreckage they caused. But here in this moment, I felt nothing but clarity. They laughed at me together. They could suffer the consequences together. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. I didn't rush. That was the key. If there was one thing my father had taught me early on, it was that real revenge isn't loud, messy, or impulsive. It's silent, deliberate, and executed with surgical precision. So while Samantha and her family drowned themselves in a whirlpool of apologies and self-justifications, I began setting the next part of my plan in motion. First, I went through the screenshots again, making sure every timestamp was visible, every message, perfectly intact, no room for anyone to twist the truth later. I organized the conversation into a clean chronological file. No edits, no commentary. Just raw evidence. Themselves in their ugliest form. I wasn't about to play the emotional, unstable boyfriend. I wanted to be the mirror they couldn't look away from. Next, I crafted a simple email. No angry rants, no all-caps outrage. Just a short professional message that read, "Thought you should see this. In case you weren't aware of what's been happening behind the scenes." Attached were the screenshots in neat folders named clearly, Family Chat Private Jokes About Liam. I sent it not just to the core members of her family, but extended it to a few more who carried influence. Her godparents, her aunts and uncles, even a few members of her family's church group. If loyalty was such a joke to them, they could now explain their brand of loyalty to everyone who once thought they stood for family values. But I didn't stop there. Samantha's professional life mattered deeply to her. She had painstakingly built an image of the supportive, happy woman balancing love and career with grace. I knew her office had a casual group chat as well, one where jokes and memes were often exchanged. It didn't take much digging, one forgotten laptop, still logged into her work account at home. And the path was open. I uploaded a few select screenshots, nothing too private to violate professional boundaries, but enough to dismantle her carefully crafted mask. A few jabs about my career that showed how little respect she had for my ambitions. A few jokes at my expense made during what should have been private milestones we had celebrated together. I attached them anonymously to her work email's draft folder and left them there, knowing it was only a matter of time before her casual, cocky behavior at work caught up with her. There was no anger in my actions, only clarity. I didn't wish Samantha harm. I didn't wish her family endless suffering. I just wanted the truth to be impossible for them to bury. If they were so proud to turn me into the family punchline, then they could live with the echo of their own laughter now. When it was all done, I powered down her laptop, set my phone on silent again, and started packing my essentials into a small suitcase. There was no scene to make, no confrontation left to have. I had already delivered my message in the clearest, most undeniable way possible, using their own words, their own actions, as the final nail in the coffin of our relationship. I wasn't looking for forgiveness or closure anymore. I didn't need apologies whispered through clenched teeth or apologies soaked in guilt. I was simply choosing to walk away, but not before making sure the door slammed hard enough behind me that they'd feel the draft for years to come. The fallout came faster than I had expected, almost like watching a dam burst after one careful crack. I didn't need to stay glued to my phone to witness it. The signs were everywhere. Samantha's calls started first. One, then another, each one ignored with the same quiet resolve. She switched to text messages when the calls went unanswered, sending frantic paragraphs that teetered between rage and desperation. "Please, Liam, talk to me. It was just stupid jokes. You're blowing this way out of proportion. You're embarrassing me in front of my family. You're better than this. Please don't ruin us." It was strange, almost fascinating to watch her pivot so quickly between trying to soothe me and blaming me, as if somehow exposing her betrayal was more shameful than the betrayal itself. I didn't respond. There was no point. Samantha didn't want forgiveness. She wanted the discomfort to stop. But the discomfort was only beginning. By the next morning, screenshots had circulated well beyond the family group. I hadn't shared them on social media. There was no need. Whispers spread like wildfire through the smaller, tighter communities they prized so much. The church group Samantha's mother belonged to, the charity organization Jake volunteered with, even the neighborhood association where Lindsay's parents lived. The stain spread faster than any rumor they had ever giggled about behind closed doors. Her mother, Carla, sent a message too. A cold, clipped text. "This wasn't necessary. You should have handled it privately." Handled it privately? I almost laughed at the absurdity. They hadn't mocked me privately. They had roasted me in a circle of trust and familiarity, like a family bonfire they thought would never burn them. But now that the flames licked their own feet, I was the one who had crossed the line? Meanwhile, Samantha's carefully curated image continued to crumble. The family chat went silent for hours, only for the occasional message to pop up, dripping with damage control. Lindsay tried to frame it as family bonding gone wrong. Jake insisted, "It's just how we are." Even Samantha's father, who rarely involved himself in drama, sent a terse note about respecting boundaries, as if their boundary-crossing mockery hadn't started this entire firestorm. I stayed silent through it all. There was nothing more powerful than silence when the guilty scrambled for explanations. Every message they sent trying to spin the narrative only twisted the knife deeper, making their hypocrisy clearer to anyone watching. I wasn't fighting them. I wasn't arguing my case. I was simply letting them speak for themselves. And it turned out they were better at self-destruction than I could have ever hoped. Samantha sent one final voice note that evening. Her voice cracked under the weight of the chaos. She begged me to call, to meet, to fix it privately. She apologized again, but even her apologies sounded exhausted, hollow, as if rehearsed and fed through 100 different emotions until they lost all meaning. I didn't play it. I deleted it without listening. There was no satisfaction in their suffering, only the cold certainty that they had built this collapse with their own hands. I had simply given them the courtesy of an audience, and now it was time to leave the stage entirely. The night I decided to leave for good, there was no grand confrontation, no cinematic shouting match. There was only the soft shuffle of a suitcase being packed and the faint ticking of the clock on the living room wall. I moved through the apartment like a guest, not a man who had once imagined building a future here. Every drawer I opened, every item I tucked away into my bag, peeled away another layer of attachment I hadn't realized I was still carrying. Samantha must have realized something was happening, even from the frantic energy of the unanswered calls, because she showed up unannounced. She burst through the front door, face flushed, eyes wild with fear and disbelief. She froze when she saw the suitcase by the door and the set of apartment keys placed neatly on the counter. Her breath hitched audibly. "Liam, please," she said, her voice cracking under the weight of her desperation. "Please, just let's talk. Please don't do this." For a moment, I simply looked at her. The woman who once promised loyalty, who once called me her future, and felt nothing but a cold, aching emptiness. No rage, no desire for revenge anymore. Just a certainty that she no longer had any place in my life. Without speaking, I walked past her, heading for the door. She reached out to grab my arm, but I pulled away gently but firmly. I didn't owe her a scene. I didn't owe her a single word more than what I had already given. Instead, I left her something better. A handwritten note, tucked under the apartment keys, written in the same careful, steady handwriting I once used for love letters. It read simply, "Thanks for the memories. I'll let the next guy be your punchline." I closed the door behind me with a soft click, leaving her standing there, clutching at the empty air between us, trying to piece together a life that no longer included me. I didn't look back. As I drove through the city streets that night, the weight that had been pressing on my chest for weeks lifted with each passing mile. I didn't need to stay and watch her spiral. I didn't need to linger and absorb the mess she had made. That wasn't my burden anymore. Later, I imagined her scrolling through her contacts, searching for allies, only to find silence. One by one, the same family members who laughed with her now chose to distance themselves, afraid of the fallout, unwilling to share the consequences of her cruelty. It was easy to laugh when it cost nothing. Now that it cost everything, no one wanted to pay. I imagined her sitting alone in that apartment, staring at her phone, willing it to buzz, willing someone, anyone, to tell her it wasn't as bad as it looked. But no one would, because deep down they all knew the truth. The joke wasn't funny anymore. And without an audience, Samantha was left with the one thing she never learned how to survive: silence.